I just absolutely thought, wow, it's so pretty, you know. And what people were doing was showing me their auras. Have you seen people's auras?
I have never seen people's auras, and what I feel is very jealous of you, because I would love to see people's auras. That's not been an experience that I have, and I think that's why I'm so fascinated by the opportunity to really just be able to sit down with someone who does have psychic abilities and who does have
We've
a
got
gift.
company. Hello.
Hi, how are you today?
Yeah, we're just talking about the psychic ability. Do pull up a chair and join us.
Please, because I'm a non-psychic. Margaret does have psychic abilities, and I want to learn a little bit more about it and have that opportunity, and Margaret's going to share that with me and with you if you'd like to join us.
Yeah. So anyway, what I'm saying is, you know, here I was, my mother said to me, sit still, and I'm seeing all these auras, and I said to my mother, you know, why is this person brown, this really brown, horrible looking colour? And she looked at me and said, shh, shh. It's like, don't talk, don't talk. And I'm thinking, why do I have to be so still? I'm still thinking this. And then, of course, the parents were doing something, I don't know what it is. But I realized that I was seeing something they weren't seeing.
And how old were you?
I was about 4 or 5 years old. It was after the war, Second World War.
But this is the first time you ever realized that you had a psychic ability? Was it the first experience that you had at that age?
It was the first time I really realized that my mother didn't see what I was seeing. Okay, there were lots of other times, but one time, there was a very special time, I had this little play friend. He was always in a blue dressing gown, and he'd turn up and, you know, he'd just be there, and I'd play and talk to him, and I didn't think much about it. And one day he literally disappeared right in front of me. It was like magic, disappeared. Where's he gone? And I went running to my mother. Mommy, you know, where's this boy? And she looked at me and she said, what boy? And I described his dressing gown, and she just made light of it, and she said, oh, well, he probably went home. But what she told me years later was that she'd actually seen him herself. So I got the confirmation.
So this wasn't just an imaginary friend, like a lot of children have imaginary friends.
No.
Do you think this was a spirit, that this was a ghost? Is that what you're trying to say that maybe it was?
Yeah, I think what I realized was that there were a lot of spirits around me that I could see and talk to, just like I'm sitting, seeing and talking to you. And I would just be with them and talk with them, and I just realized that more and more that I saw them, that other people didn't see them. You know,
why do you think you're special? Why? I mean, what is it? Is it just like some people are born with blonde hair and blue eyes, and you just happened to be born with the ability to see things that the rest of us don't?
No. You know, I have to say clearly, very clearly, straight away, that everybody is psychic.
I don't know how to work this one.
Everybody is psychic. You just do that. You just tip it up and pour it.
All right. I'll trust
I don't
you.
have any new modern things here. That's
okay.
it. So anyway, everybody is psychic, and I went out of my way, actually, when I got older, of course, to talk to people and ask them, what did you see? And I'd love to hear from people that are out there, if they would write to me and tell me things, you know, because there are a lot of people who, they don't know that what they're seeing is a ghost, or they do know and they don't want to talk about it, they're frightened about it in some way. But the bottom line is, we all are psychic. Everybody is psychic.
I hear that all the time. Everybody has the ability, you just have to develop it. And I'm sure even within certain psychics, there are some whose ability is stronger, or, you know, they're more capable. Is that just because they've taken the time to develop that gift more, or is it just they have a stronger ability?
Yes, they've
Both?
taken time.
All right. Okay.
I know. I mean, you know, it's like if you see a piano and you're just drawn to it and you just want to play, and you sit down and you learn to play the scale, and then after a while you think, oh, I really want to know more. So you get a lesson or 2 or 3, and next thing you know, over years of practice, you become a real pianist, right? Well, it's the same with your psychic ability. You say, okay, I had a vision, I saw something, and it's got me, it's hooked me. I mean, you've had things. What's happened to you? Tell me some things.
Well, but no, first I want to go, when you talk about that, if I am drawn to the piano and I decide that I want to know more about the piano when I'm little, I can go say, Mommy, I want to take piano lessons. But you can't go say, Mommy, I want to take psychic lessons. I mean, you can't look in the yellow pages. So when you say you learn it, and where and how?
Well, you can. I mean, obviously it helps a great deal if you've got some parents around who know about being psychic, because then they're going to say to the kiddie, okay, this is what you saw, this is why you saw it. But there are a lot of people out there who admit they don't have parents that are aware.
Was your mom aware?
Yeah, my mother was, but she didn't make a big thing about it. It was more, as I got older, I realized it was more like, tell me my future, tell me my fortune. You know, am I going to win the British football pool thing? You know, $75,000, I think it was in those days, something like that. But, you know, it's changed now. It's become integrated, and the world covers it by calling it metaphysics.
But
okay?
Metaphysics to me is this huge word, and it covers so
It's a
many
big
things.
word.
It is a big word. But what exactly does metaphysics cover?
Well, it covers all the New Age stuff. You know, I knew you were going to ask me about this, so I actually got my dictionary here, and I want to read to you what it says in the dictionary. And I'll remind you that when I first read this when I was a little girl, it just said a state of mind beyond the normal, but they've updated it now, okay? And what it says is, a division of philosophy that is concerned with the fundamental nature of reality and being. See? So what that basically means is that people are being aware of themselves and their life and what is real for them.
My message is simple. If you're gonna have sex, a latex condom used consistently and correctly could help prevent the spread of HIV and other STDs. People out there gotta understand. That's why I'll go anywhere to talk about latex condoms. Even into your living room.
Outside objective experience, okay? So, in other words, what that basically means is like, you could look at this coffee pot, right, and just see it as a black coffee pot, okay? And someone else can look at it and see it as a statue and swear behind that it's not real, because of where they're standing, the way they're looking at it, right?
So it's everybody's individual perspective. Yes,
right,
exactly.
Right.
Their perception of what something is.
Right.
But what that also means, and I think gives rise to a lot of skepticism, is that what you're also saying is that it can't be measured. It isn't something that's going to be scientifically proven within the rules that we know science by.
Right.
So a lot of people have trouble and just poo-poo this kind of thing because it can't be treated in the same way.
It's absolutely so. I mean, a lot of the religions and philosophies today actually teach that if you see something paranormal, something different, it's got to be something to be afraid of, or it's got to be the devil or something. But, you know, in the Bible, for example, Gabriel appearing to Mary, that's a vision. That's paranormal. And there are a lot of people, that, you know, people out there, for example, right now that are listening, they have a lot of experiences, stories where maybe someone's passed over and they've seen grandma, or, you know, a relatives in another part of the world is suddenly appearing in front of them. See, that's another thing. We don't all have to be dead to make an appearance. We can come out of body and be somewhere else. That's kind of neat when you can do that. Have you ever done that?
I have never done out of body, and when you talk about just ordinary, everyday people having experiences like that, I happen to be with my husband's aunt, who is very Midwestern, very down-to-earth, somebody that you would not consider to have had any kind of psychic things happen to them. And both she and her young daughter had out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences. And because my aunt had one in childbirth, a number of years later, when her young daughter at age 3 or 4 became very, very ill and left her body, and later was very angry with her mom and wouldn't speak to her. And finally, she sat this little girl down and said, why are you so angry with me? And she said, because when I was leaving my body, and she was in the bedroom, my aunt was in the living room, the little girl described my aunt sitting on the couch with her father, described the conversation they were having that she couldn't have known about, the door was closed, and described floating up to the ceiling, and she said she felt that if she went through the vent that was at the top, that she would never come back. And she was yelling at her mother, but her mother couldn't hear.
Right.
And all of a sudden, the voice came through, her mother heard, went to her, and it pulled her back into her body. But when she related this story as a 3 or 4-year-old to her mother realized that she really came very close to death, and nobody realized it. And I'm shocked because I would not have expected this story from this particular woman.
Right, it doesn't matter who you are. There's no rule. There's no regulation. See, the bottom line is we all have a spirit inside us. We all know that because we get taught it in church and school, and anyone that looks at any philosophy around the world. I mean, you can go to Africa and talk to someone who lives in the deep, dark part of the jungle, and they'll talk about their essence, their spirit. And that's the part of us that goes on for always, forever. And we know it, even though we can't prove it to ourselves. And it's that part of us that's functioning through the psychic ability. And it can come and go. We can come in and out of our body. We can look at someone else's spirit and we can sense, what that spirit's feeling. So I can read you, do a bit of psychometry.
There are people that are going to say that we don't know it, but that we want to believe it, because we all have a hard time dealing with the fact that we all are finite. And so it's easier for us to believe that perhaps we go on, because it's an easier concept for us here as well as in here. So, and that again comes into just a matter, I guess, of whether you really do believe it, but I don't know that I can know it. I know that I would like to know it.
You wouldn't want to think of yourself as ending now, would you?
Of course
I mean,
not.
you wouldn't
No,
want to be
that's my
put in the
point.
ground and that's it, and
Exactly,
there's no
and it's
more.
over.
Right. Nobody
Yes.
wants to think of that. So really understanding that you think of yourself as going on and on and on, okay, that's good, because that gives you a step into accepting that you are psychic, that you have a spirit, because that's a starting place. Once you can accept that, then you can start saying, what more is there to me? And of course, you're going to find yourself measuring whatever you're doing with people against other people. It's like the nature of man is to compete, right?
Right.
Right. If I can do this, you can do this. Can I do it better than you, and so on. And we measure our experiences, right, by what we see other people do. We role model. Well, once we've done that, we get to a point where we start to say, I'm not really a carbon copy of all these people, right? I've got to find my own color on it. I've got to find my own way to present myself. I have to have my own image. I mean, I don't want to walk around looking like Judith. Judith doesn't want to be me, right? We're individual. But there comes a point when we want to say, where is that individual part of me coming from, right? Comes from in here, right? In your heart,
right.
Your essence, right? That point, you can say, where is it? Who is it? What is it? When you start looking, you're going inward, coming away from what's out there.
But I think sometimes people don't want to really look inward and look at themselves closely because they're afraid they might not like what they see.
True. I had an uncle. This uncle, he's passed over now, but he was always turning up, and he always had this like, oh, poor me, I'm so sick face,
Right.
and he'd say this is wrong and that's wrong, and so down the street didn't do this, and someone else didn't pay their rent to him because he rented out property, and different stuff. There was always some problem, and I'd say to him, look, don't worry about it. Don't put all your energy and time on those people. Put it on yourself.
So you're saying
but I don't know
focus on the
how
negative.
to, he said.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He didn't know how to focus on himself. No one had taught him. There are a lot of people out there that don't know how to focus on themselves. So I always say, begin with being quiet. Okay, being quiet. Can you sit quiet?
It's hard. It's hard. I think that's why meditation, I try meditation and they say, listen to your breath. And I'm like, but I get restless and it's hard to just sit and do that.
And then you start thinking, right?
Yes, you do.
I used to, my mind was terrible. I mean, it was going at 100 miles an hour, chippity, chippity, chippity. And I found that what I did was, the best way was for me is a little exercise I'm going to share with you, and you can go home and try it, okay? Is you sit on your hands, so you can't fidget, because the first thing we all do is fidget. I mean, even when I'm sitting here, I'm fidgeting, right? So you sit on your hands, and then you find something, let's say a cookie, okay? And in your mind, you trace around the cookie, and you draw the spots, and you do it all, and the whole time you're tracing that, you're occupying your mind. Your mind can't think about anything but tracing that cookie. Now, if you do divert and find yourself thinking, I didn't do the washing, you say out loud, I drifted. A conscious mind doesn't like to know that it's failed. Well, after you've said I drifted 10 times, it starts to get angry, And that's the time to stop. Right. Okay. Now, the reason why is because eventually you'll get to a point where you can trace that cookie and not think about anything, but now you get itches. You want to scratch, you want to fidget, you want to pull up your sleeve, you want to do something. If you're sitting on your hand and you have to consciously pull it out, it's another I drifted. It's another distraction. Practice it at home. Do it as often as you want to. There'll come a time when you can sit and not move and not think, right?
And you're not even having to concentrate on something. You can just
don't have to draw anything.
Keep your mind blank.
Just be blank. Now the trick is shut your eyes. Okay? Now the minute you shut your eyes, your brain says, different situation, different scenario, I can start talking again. So I always say, visualize something inside, like a 5-pointed star, and just keep drawing that star, like this in your mind. And every time you think about whether I put the cat out or whether my husband's coming home next week, you say, I drifted again out loud. And it's not long before your mind says, same rule, behave yourself.
So it's just a matter of training. That's what you're saying.
Then you can start meditating, right? And then when you start meditating, you can start feeling your body. You can start feeling your energy, okay? When you start feeling your energy, then you can feel your stress. Do you know there are a lot of people out there who don't even know they're stressed?
In this modern world, that they don't know they're stressed.
They don't know they're stressed.
I
had a lady, she came to me and she said, I'm so relaxed. I'm really relaxed. I feel so at ease. And I attuned to her with my psychic sense, and I felt like I was like this. I'm exaggerating and I'm making myself shake so you can feel it. That's how she felt to me. Have you felt people like that? You've been with them and felt them like that?
Maybe not in the same way you feel them, but I certainly am with people sometimes and I can feel that they're under pressure or they're, but it's more body language. I don't know that I necessarily go into the essence of them, but it's what they're showing me externally.
I guess you're going to leave us for a minute. We'll see you in a minute. But anyway, what I basically wanted to say here was that
some of the people, some of the time. But if you plan on it, keep this on your mind. It's only one way to cross that thin line. Caught under 21 with alcohol and you'll find you walking with your friends, cause you paid the price. When you had the straight, just give up your license for the next year. Plus you might do the time, even if it's on your breath, it's still a crime. So if you wanna know the true road to take, don't drink, drive straight.
A message from the Office of Traffic Safety and the California Highway Patrol.
A situation where you're feeling you're stressed, it's a good idea to sit on your hands and do this little exercise and acknowledge you're stressful and feel that energy leaving your body. Okay, it's also a good idea to become aware of sensing. Our whole body is a sensory machine. I mean, you can go into someone's house where they've been arguing, right? Mm-hmm. And you don't know they've been arguing, right? And you walk in there.
You can feel the tension.
Right,
Absolutely.
you feel it, right?
You feel it.
Okay. So it's the same way when you attune to yourself by sitting on your hands and doing this, I drifted thing. You feel your own tension. And you've got to acknowledge it and let it go. And this woman I was talking about, she had taken a few deep breaths, and she thought that was relaxed, you see. And there are a lot of people out there that don't know that. And remember, stress leads to dis-ease.
Well, I would think if you could actually learn to do that and learn to get to the point where you don't have to be tracing cookies or tracing stars, but during a lunch hour, to be able to take 10 minutes and just relax yourself would be really healthy. It'd be less stress on your body, and it would be less stress on your heart, and maybe a tool that we could all use just in our general well-being on a day-to-day basis.
Right. I think that we really need to be aware that it's important to develop our psychic ability. Well, I think if I found enough people that would come to me and talk to me about this, that I would be able to show them within 2 seconds how stressed they are. Mm-hmm. It's very simple. Just take that deep breath and then let go and then feel, put your mind into your shoulders and your body and you'll see it.
And just feel the tension in yourself.
And that's the step in working towards letting go. Mm-hmm. Okay. And all the stress that we have is all related to the mindsets, the conditioning, the way people tell us to think, tell us to feel. When we're children, we're told, you can't cross the road because you're not big enough, right?
Right.
So now, if you're going to go work on a project, how often do you have to go ask someone if they approve? What do they think? See what I mean? Mm-hmm. We still do these things when we're older, when we're grown up.
Just that we want approval from other people who are within our world, or that we want their acceptance? Is that what you mean?
It's the child part of us that wants that. But we also want someone to tell us we're old enough, we're big enough to do it still.
So validation.
Validation, right. That, we're... I had a lady came to see me recently, and she was going through a marriage that wasn't working. And it was obviously a very bad marriage. And really, the whole session with me was not about how to get out of it or what to do or anything like that. She was looking for me to tell her to do it. It was a little girl inside saying, tell me to divorce my husband.
She wanted permission.
Yeah, you see? And that's a lot of what we all do as well. We bring that childhood memory up of, I need someone older and wiser to tell me I can do that. See? Mm-hmm. And when we're not sure, when we don't know what we want to do, we turn to someone who's supposed to be older and wiser. And what we should really be doing is going inward and listening to this little spirit in here that isn't really that little, it's pretty big, right? Because it has this auric emanation. Have you ever seen an aura?
No.
Never.
Never.
You know what you can do? You can actually kind of squint like that. And just
see
gaze.
aura?
Yeah, you could actually squint and gaze like that. You'll see the white, first of all, that's like about that much all the way around. And then after you look, after a while, your eyes relax and you start to see different colors like red and green, stuff like that. It's quite fun.
Yes. But can you tell anything by somebody's aura? I mean, what if I see white? Does that signify something? Or you said when you were a little girl and you saw somebody with brown.
Right.
Is brown a negative color?
Yes, there was a lot of sickness in the body.
So it's sickness.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean meanness necessarily.
No,
it means
no.
just
It usually
a lack
means
of health.
the energies are not flowing in the body. It's like a paint pot. If you take some red and some green and some blue and you mix it together, you've got a brown. Okay. Red is the life force. Blue is the mindset. And green is the nervous system. So you mix them together, we've got someone who's very nervous, agitated, say stressed, red, extra red, and blue, think, all these heavy, heavy thoughts. We're going to get brown. See, they're mixed together. over the
So
years.
tell me again. Okay,
Yeah.
red is the life force.
Red is the life force.
Blue
Everybody
is-
has red. Right.
Is what?
Blue is the mind.
The mind. And green.
And green is the nervous system.
And is that those are basically the colors that
Well, they're
you'll
the primary
see? Okay.
colors. I
All
mean,
right.
yes, there's a variety of colors, like from very pale,
Mm-hmm.
white, with a tinge, a tiny little bit of green, like a mint, tiny pink color, going up through the rays of white, to we get almost black, and we've got these dense colors in there, and we're all capable of producing all these colors all the time.
So one day I could have one color and the next day another color? It changes that somebody
Right.
doesn't sort of have a color that is their essence, or that they're sort of always that and then other colors radiate from that?
No.
Okay.
You see, you might be, should we say, hearing some bad news, okay? And the bad news says, in your mind, to you logically, a great deal of changes and alterations that you don't want to go through because you're afraid of it. And at that point, you may be generating a tremendous amount of red because you're angry that you've got to make these changes. And then the telephone could go with some news that it's okay, you've been saved at the last minute, and it's all right, you don't have to make that change. And suddenly all this pink will come out of the red, okay? We're constantly being bombarded with information, and we're constantly assessing and reevaluating all this kind of thing, So people would change their colors all the time.
And see, I never thought, I guess I always thought that your aura was sort of reflected who you were as a person rather than what you were going through at that moment. So,
No, our auras change all the time. It's like today you're one thing, tomorrow you're another thing. Now, we're running out of time. I'm glad you all joined us, and if you would like to take the number down that's on the screen, we'd love to hear from you again, hear about things that you would like to tell us, that you'd like to hear us talk about.
or if you have questions you want me to ask, I'm chock full of them, but I'd love to know what the kinds of things you're interested in, and then I'll give Margaret the third degree for you as well as for me.
Anyway, so next time you find yourself looking in the mirror, try and see your own aura. Try and look.
So I can speak and see myself.
Yeah. We'll have a low light.
going.
We're not going.
Noisy.
We're not going. Okay, so anyway, I like this coffee. I think it's very nice. You know, a lady came to see me the other day, and she had a bad hip. And when I was looking at her and working on her and thinking about how she was walking, I realized that most of the pain that she had was related to the way she was taught to walk as a child. You know, there's a lot of illnesses that we have because of what we were doing when we were children. Did you realize that?
I didn't.
No.
No.
Oh, we've got friends. Hello, I'm glad you joined us again. We're talking about healing today, and I'm Margaret.
I'm Judith Poppy.
So anyway, what I was saying here is that when people come to me and they're sick, I have to look at every part of them. And here was this woman who was walking with a bad hip, was about to have a ball socket implant, okay? And it was just the way she walked. And I could see this picture of her as a child walking, swinging her hips like this, running and kicking up her legs. You know,
So
kicking
basically
them
she
out.
was just putting wear on the joints that wasn't good for it. She
right,
wasn't doing it properly.
Right, absolutely. And there are a lot of people out there that are doing things to their bodies and they're not aware of it. When I was very little, I was 3. I was going to be a bridesmaid. I was so excited. And guess what? I got whooping cough. Okay, so there was this beautiful dress hanging on the side and me looking at it saying, I have to get better, I have to get better, I want to wear it. And of course I didn't. And my beautiful dress was taken for someone else to wear. But the coughing and the coughing and the whooping, I mean, it was terrible. Okay, and I got over it and I got better. But you know what? Every summer, and it was right around my birthday, I might add, my birthday's in June. Every summer I would start this, you know, and everyone said, oh, Margaret has a nervous cough. Okay? The years went by and I got bronchitis one time. And that was in the winter. And after that, I got a winter cough and I got a summer cough, you know. And I lived with that. And everyone said, oh, it's the weather, you know, the change in the British weather, these different things. Oh, it's the pressure, the life you're going through, the things you're doing. Well, I'm telling you, I went into meditation. I really went in, I went through layers and layers and layers, and suddenly I'm working on my chest. And I'm back having this whooping cough.
So you went into meditation as an adult and then took yourself back to those years when you were a child. This wasn't something that you did when you were younger.
No, I mean, I used to meditate when I was young, but who would think that all these years later, I was having this chronic little cough, that it all came back to the time when I had whooping cough. And what was it? It was the disappointment that I couldn't wear that dress, that I couldn't have what I really wanted, the fun, the pleasure. So in my everyday life, I'm running around looking after kids, worrying about husbands, job, whatever. I'm coughing because I couldn't stop to have the pleasure to do the things that I wanted to do.
So you were still locked into this disappointment and you were carrying the effects physically years later.
Right. So that was a major discovery for me. So that said, okay, what else have I got in my body, okay, that I want to fix, okay? And there were lots of things when I started investigating that I found that I was programmed into. Pain, fear, anger, guilt, and love itself. And I was talking to you the other day about that and a little earlier. And one of the things that I found with my body was that it tightened up, it stiffened up the minute I had to do something related to my children. Now you would think, mother love, you want to go to the end of the world for your kids. You want to make sure they have everything. You want to give them everything. You want them to be your perfect little models. You kind of have this dream, you know, when you have them, they're going to grow up and they're going to be this fantastic doctor or this lawyer or something, you know. God knows why we all want to do. I mean, literally, God knows. But we don't. We just have these ideas because we've been conditioned to think that way, and I was like everyone else, and I was taking my kids off to judo and taking my kids off to riding classes and taking my kids here. I wanted them to have everything. I wanted them to try everything. And the more I put out there, the more I was running around trying to give them, the more stressed I was becoming, the more angry I was becoming, the more lonely and miserable I was becoming. And I started getting all sorts of aches and pains. I had migraines, I had backaches, my monthlies were different, you know, all these different things. And eventually it ended up that I had to have a hysterectomy. And it was like a miracle had happened when I had that, because afterwards all these illnesses that I had disappeared. They just disappeared, like overnight. Within 2 weeks, I was climbing a ladder and I was painting the outside of my house because I was going to move. I wanted to be somewhere else. And people were saying, how can you be up that ladder? You know, I said, why not? You know, my body will heal quickly. But there was something different in me. Emotionally, I felt different. My womb had gone, and with it, the idea that I was supposed to be the perfect mum, that I was supposed to produce more babies, that I was supposed to labor after those babies, the mindset. And I went back again in my time, in my meditation, layers, lots of it. And what I found was that, again, when I was 3 years old, I had this fabulous doll. I mean, it was the new walkie-talkie dolls in those days. Remembering I'm a war baby, so this was a China clay doll. And I was carrying it up the stairs, and I banged it on the stairs, and the leg fell off. And I felt so bad about that because I knew how expensive dolls were in those days. My father bandaged it up, he put tape on it, he said the dolly is better, it'll always have a bad leg, but you can mother it, you can take care of the leg. And it was his way of making me say, okay, it's all right that I broke it. But for me, it said, you're responsible. From this day on, this baby, your dolly, this baby needs you to take care of it.
And all babies that you have ever after in your life. But when you experience something like that, because I know you're a healer and that you have been a healer for a long time, when something like that happened with the doll, was this sort of what made you realize maybe that you had the ability to heal, or did it start that young in you? Did you become aware at that early age?
Yes, well, as I said the other day, you know, healing for me was so natural. I'd just hop on people's laps and get hot, and energy would come out of me, and even now it's still the same. And so people can stand next to me, you know, and get some healing, and I'm used to doing that. And I've got to a point now where when I've got an auditorium of people watching me, I can actually put my hands up like that, and they can feel the energy coming from me. It's not something I said I'm going to do. My mind didn't sit there and say, hey, I'm going to do this. It was something that God gave me. I was born with, if you like, by my own choice to be a healer.
But why is it that sometimes I can be standing here and somebody next to me with somebody who has the ability to heal, and maybe I will get a positive effect, but the person next to me won't? Is it our own personal responsibility?
I haven't seen my parents all summer.
Do you want to go there? Yeah, that's it. No, that's it.
Marriage isn't supposed to
By not being healed?
be like this.
I have 3 answers for that. First one, psychologically and emotionally, we punish ourselves. We get into what I call the rejection syndrome, which I wrote a book about called The Rejection Syndrome. And basically what we're saying here is everything we're taught from childhood says no. You're not good enough, you're not strong enough, you're not wise enough, you're not old enough, you're not big enough, you're not fat enough, you're not whatever, in some way. And we grow up believing that. And so even when we're adults, we're still running this subliminal tape of saying, I can't do that. I'm not ready in some way. And because we're going against our passion, our desire to want to do something, we create this negative energy, which causes disease, dis-ease, okay, and illness. As we all know, cancer is one of the biggest stress things, right? So, what I'm looking at now in my research is understanding this and working with most of my patients and clients that come to me. Now, the second thing is that I see in the, in this trilogy here is a lot of people get into a religious structure when they're born. Okay, you're unworthy. You're not spiritual enough. You're not earning it from God. You're supposed to be, locked up in this room and suffer, babe, suffer until you've cast out your sins, kind of thing. And children are very impressive. They take in whatever adults are doing. So take a simple thing. Years ago when I was a child, I investigated all the different religions. I had this urge, I was kind of like Jesus. I wanted to know everything and went to every church, synagogue, temple, whatever I could find. And I had this friend who was Catholic, and I said, what are you going to say when you go to confession? What did you do wrong? And they both looked at me, he and his sister, they looked at me and said, well, we make it up. So I said, why? And they said, well, I have to say something, because if I don't, they'll say I'm lying, that I didn't do something wrong. And they honestly didn't. They were so good, these children, So they hadn't done anything wrong. And then it was, we used to sit there and say, okay, let's make up something. And I used to find myself saying, well, did you have a bad thought about your mom? Oh, yes, I hated her when she hit me. Well, it's okay to hate someone when they hit you. But here was a child going to confession saying it's not. It's not okay to feel upset that someone hit you, So we get that kind of thing going on with people. And then the last thing that I always see very strongly with people is mindsets that say that whatever their skills are, their talents are, they're not good enough.
Well, you're basically boiling everything down to a self-esteem. Mm-hmm. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
That most people have very low self-esteem. And none of us feel worthy of any of the good things. And so we don't deserve to get better. Is that sort of it in a nutshell? Is that? Mm-hmm. And so we don't allow ourselves to be healed.
Right, absolutely. So I can be standing next to someone and I know that I can do, say, my crystal acupuncture, which moves all the energies through all the 5 bodies. And I know I'm going to affect a lot of changes, okay? But if their energy is sitting there saying, don't touch me, keep away, it doesn't matter what I do, they'll feel better for a little bit, but the energy will all slot back, as it were, into the old way within hours, okay? Because under the law of karma, that's God's law, I cannot affect a change if someone doesn't want to change. I've had people pleading with me to get them out of pain, and I've got them out of pain. And I've warned them afterwards that if they don't stop and do what I tell them and think differently and feel differently about themselves, the pain will be back.
But that's so easy to say, think differently about yourself. I mean, because we're programmed, as you say, from such an early age to think in certain ways.
It is.
To get out of that and that quickly try and think more positively and feel more positively, when still we get a lot of negative input from ads in magazines that, we're all not skinny and 6 feet tall and 105 pounds, blonde hair, blue eyes, whatever, the criteria is.
Well, think about this. I mean,
compete, you've got to be strong. To win, you've got to be smart. Maybe you can be one of us, the few, the proud, the Marines.
There's so many varieties of how we think we can be. that what can we actually fit in with is very little.
Right.
And that's where we get a headache. So I always try and be myself, quite honestly. And, you know, if someone is upset by me, I'm sorry that they're upset. I'm sorry for them that they're upset. But I'm not going to spend 4 hours trying to justify why I did what I did to make them feel better. I used to years ago. Guess what? I got a migraine. You know, we can't be responsible for everyone, but we can be responsible for ourselves, right?
Right. Well, let's go back to the hysterectomy, because it surprises me that as a healer that you would then seek traditional therapy as well. And, you know, was there any opportunity for you to try and mend whatever your problem was within yourself, or do you need somebody else to do that for you? As a healer, can you heal yourself?
Yeah, I've got several answers there. First of all, in that particular time in my life, my fourth birth for my fourth child was a cesarean, and they sewed my womb and my bladder together afterwards.
I see. So it was a medical problem.
So I had a medical problem that was created. And so as a result, I was getting problems with both my monthlies and urination.
Right.
So at that time, I had to investigate and found I had to be opened up and have this done. But in the process of doing that, I learned so much. So in the overview, in a sense, that all had to happen for me to find out all that information that came later in my own research. But I also was diagnosed when I was 34 with Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's disease is where you start that rolling pill tremor. You hold something and you know, and the neck shakes. And I used to tremble, you know, and I went to the doctor. My grandmother had it. It's hereditary. And when I learned that I had it, I said, no way, I'm not going to have this. So that was what put me on the pathway of going inward in lots of meditation, peeling off the layers of the onion bit by bit over 15 years. I don't shake. Very little, okay? And, you know, all the symptoms are gone. And I would love to share all this information with the different organizations that, you know, the information I have, but I'm up against the medical structure. I work with doctors from time to time. Some of them are listening, but a lot aren't. And it's a shame.
I think you also have to be fighting against the fact that there are these religious faith healers, and I put it in quotes because they frequently are charlatans and they take advantage of people.
Right.
And
I've met a few of those.
Yes. And so I think it's very hard for people like me to distinguish between those who really know what they're doing and those who only pretend to know what they're doing in order to get money out of you or, you know, to build a big TV audience or whatever it is they're doing.
Right. I'll tell you, you can never go wrong if you learn to listen to what you feel. Okay? If you sense someone, if you feel someone, okay, and the feeling says, I don't feel good, even if you want to trust them, even if your logic says, this is someone that I want to be with, okay? Because I hope, I pray that they're the miracle cure, and you're still going underneath, this doesn't feel right. You've got to listen to that because you're telling yourself it isn't right.
So we need to just trust our intuition and follow that rather than what we want to believe, follow what we really sort of know intuitively.
Right. You understand?
Yes,
so,
I believe so.
So I've had people that have come to me and they've said, how do I know that you can heal me? And my response to them is, are you ready? Do you want to trust yourself, to let yourself heal yourself? Because I'm not going to heal you. I'm going to help you heal yourself. All I'm going to do is move your energies. All I'm going to do is counsel you and help you understand the way you think. But the bottom line is, you got to put what I give you and work with it and find some way that helps you.
Yeah, I don't think most people I think are lazy and want to be able to come and say, Margaret, do this for me, and not involve themselves. I think most people are passive about that. And again, when we go to doctors, you know, they expect us to take the pill, but basically we're putting ourselves in their hands. We're not taught to be independent. It's more like a parent-child relationship. And I would think most people would come to a healer like you with the same sort of program in their minds, that we're just going to come and sit there and you'll do all the work. But you're saying we have to really be active, whether it's meditation or relaxation or whatever exercises you give us.
Being aware of yourself, feeling good about yourself, enjoying everything that you do, having pleasure in your experiences, even the bad ones, is important.
You ask a lot.
Well, let me put it this way. I went into an office and everybody was uptight. Everybody was screaming and ranting with me. And I walked in there and I thought, I got two ways I can go. I can either become a part of this and be drawn into it, and before long I would be walking around screaming and shouting, or I can be the center and I can radiate calmness and observe and watch, okay? And within the course of the day, because I had to be there, I was teaching and doing things, within the course of the day, I was seeing myself in these people. I could see myself 10 years ago running around going, you know, putting my hair out going, this isn't working in these people. And I'm laughing. Inside I'm laughing because it's funny. It's like watching a cartoon, right? By the end of the day, I had affected all those people that they were coming to me and saying,
hello, I'm Gail Wilson, and I'd like to invite you to join thousands of other Californians in honoring a uniquely American tradition, volunteering in your community. You can make a difference in the lives of others by volunteering your time and your knowledge. People often don't know where to start. From mentoring at-risk children to getting a neighborhood watch program started, the needs are many and varied. Last year, my husband established the California Commission on Improving Life Through Service in order to promote community service and volunteerism. And it's part of the national effort to make service a basic part of our lives. For more information on how you can make a difference in your community, please contact the California Commission on Improving Life Through Service at 916-323-7646. The opportunities are endless, and the rewards last a lifetime.
Actually put all our thoughts down on paper and say, I'm monitoring this, I'm watching this, I'm thinking about this. But to watch people and see ourselves in other people is important. If you're hurting in some way, say you get a headache, stop and say, what was I just doing? How does that fit in with the last time I got a headache? What was I doing then? Is there a connection? Is there something that is a button pusher? You know, if I come back to Parkinson's disease, for example, the shakes would get worse if I was running some psychological, emotional tape from my childhood, okay, that was, so we say, event upon event, built up like a mountain inside me. And someone would say something and, whoa, yeah. And even now, you know, that I'm over it, I can't say it's gone, it's still in my genes. And there are occasions when some little thing will come up and I can feel that locking sensation here that wants to, you know, because that's where it comes in, is in the back of the neck. So anyone out there that's got some sort of illness, what do I advise? I advise get some chiropractic work, because when you move the bones, you're moving the energies. Get some deep muscle massaging, rolfing, shiatsu.
Doesn't rolfing hurt? I've always heard that rolfing hurts.
It does.
I mean...
But you see, everything that you've ever been is coded into all those cells, into every muscle, every fiber, every organ, every nerve ending. Everything is coded with the memories of everything that you've done in this life. all the pain, all the fear, all the anger, all the guilt. So when someone's working that, it's bringing it up to the surface. Yes, you'll feel all sorts of emotions come up over the next few days, you know. But it's one of those things. Well, you know, we've been having a talk here and we've been chatting and we've been having a lot of fun, and these people that have been watching us, they're about to leave us, and I'm sure you would love to see us again. So we're going to put up our address. We'd like to hear from you. We'd like any conversations to call us or give us a report, what you would like us to talk about. Have you got anything you want to tell them before we leave?
I would just like to say thank you for joining us, and we hope we'll see you again.
Yes, it's good. I'm very glad that we've had today to
Yes.
talk.
No,
You
I
know,
always
so
enjoy my
important.
conversations with Margaret, and thank you.
So do you want some more coffee?
Oh, I think I'm fine at the
Yeah.
moment.
Did you like this?
Yes. Very
Do
good,
have a
actually.
cookie.
Oh, I think I had one earlier, Margaret, but I'll have one. Are you going to have one?
Yeah, maybe I will.
Oh, good.
No, I'm not supposed to eat chocolate, you know.
Why not?
It'll make me fat.
Oh. You and the rest of the world, right? I guess along those lines, none of us are supposed to eat it. But there you go.
Anyway, you know, one of the things that I used to do when I was a child was always look for licorice. I just loved licorice. I didn't know why, but I found out years later it was an absolute cleanser for the alimentary tract, okay? There are a lot of herbs, there are a lot of things out there that people can take. You know, they can cleanse their bodies, and that's important to purify the inside. Minerals, vitamins, work out, get fit, get the endorphins going in the brain. There's different health structures, chiropractic, acupuncturists. They're the therapies that I do, like crystal acupuncture. There's a lot of stuff that people can do to help themselves.
But
if
see,
they
I
want
think
to.
basically, though, again, it's people have to take some responsibility. They have to eat right. They have to get enough sleep. They have to drink that water. They, you know, they have to do those basic things for themselves, because internally, you know, we need to be as healthy as we can be, and then get extra help from you. You know, I would think that you can't do your thing at all if we're not going to participate on some level.
I would like to see the medical profession accept more of us therapists. If we could work with the medical profession, hand in glove, we can do a lot to help people in the hospital. Also with the psychological side too, there are a lot of people in mental institutions